Welcome to Embrace Your Inner Boldness, the podcast dedicated to empowering you to live confidently, embracing all parts of who you truly are. I'm Melissa Henning-Frank, and I'm the founder, success coach, and consultant of Becoming Bold LLC, and you can count on me to be your guide on this incredible journey of self-discovery and transformation. Let's get right to it. Hello, and thanks for tuning in. Today's topic is an issue that comes up a lot in so many conversations, and it's something that way too many of us struggle with. So I'm here to talk about increasing confidence and conquering imposter syndrome. If we're here to embrace our inner boldness, then clearly we need to be more confident and have less imposter syndrome. So how do you go from self-doubt to self-belief? Simply put, it starts with loving your life. The more you love your life, the more life loves you back. And we'll talk about how to step into that mindset. Personally, I am very well acquainted with the need to increase confidence and conquer imposter syndrome, but I haven't heard of imposter syndrome until about 7 years ago. I should say I didn't know that what I was fairly consistently feeling had a name, and once I heard and understood the phrase imposter syndrome, a whole new world opened up for me. Now that this thing had a name, it felt like it was something I could possibly conquer, because now I knew it wasn't just me. It was actually a real thing, in quotes, and maybe not as uncommon as I thought. Before we get into the details around this, consider these questions, and you can pause the podcast if you need to. It might help to jot this down and give these some intentional thought. Do you consider yourself to have more self-doubt than self-belief? Do you struggle maintaining a good level of confidence? Have you heard of the term imposter syndrome prior to this podcast? And do you know how it ties in with the need to increase confidence? If you're not familiar with imposter syndrome, count yourself to be very fortunate. Either that, or maybe you don't realize that you're experiencing this. So imposter syndrome is basically when you feel like you're not as good as everyone thinks you are, even though you're actually doing great. So it's like a trick that your brain plays on you, making you doubt yourself for no reason. Imposter syndrome can affect anyone, but there are certain groups who are more likely to experience it, and let's get into that. High performers and high achievers are typically the ones who tend to be perfectionists, and as a result of their perfectionism, they might lack confidence and doubt their abilities. There's also first-generation students. So they might be the first ones in their families to attend college, and it might cause them to feel out of place or maybe not good enough. People in tech fields and STEM fields, they often feel the pressure to prove themselves, especially if they are women or minorities. These industries tend to be pretty male-dominated, so that can cause some feelings of not good enough. Women in leadership roles, women in high-ranking positions might feel like they don't belong if they're looking around the table and nobody else looks like them, and they might worry that people think their success is due to luck rather than their very capable abilities. There's also people going through career transitions, so if you're stepping into a new role or a new industry, you really might doubt your capabilities and feel unqualified, especially if you've been somewhere in a certain role for a long time and then you switch. And if it's a different industry, your learning curve is going to be probably a lot bigger than if you were to step into a similar role in a similar industry. And so you might experience feelings of imposter syndrome because there's so much more that you need to be learning. People experience imposter syndrome in different ways, and it often stems from a mix of personal, psychological, social factors. One of the factors that goes into imposter syndrome is low confidence, and we're going to talk about that now. Think about how it feels when you have a moment, or hopefully longer than a moment, that you feel confident. Confidence, it feels like a superpower inside you. It helps you believe in yourself. It's a feeling that you can do things well, that you can handle whatever comes your way. When you're confident, you trust your abilities, and you feel good about trying new things, even if they're a little scary at first. Confidence, in my opinion, shows up without you really even thinking about it. You're not distracted by doubt. You're not as distracted by something that you don't like about your body. You're not distracted about how you talk. You're just doing the dang thing. There's no distraction. Think of it as having an invisible cape that gives you courage to stand up, speak out, take action, knowing that you can succeed or learn from the experience no matter what happens. Zero self-doubt. You're just getting it done. So what are some reasons why we occasionally, or maybe more than occasionally, experience low confidence? This can be due to our past experiences. It's not always easy sticking out your neck and trying something new or challenging. Because of past experience, it might feel unsafe for many people even just thinking about branching out into the unknown. If you've done something like this, if you've stuck your neck out, if you tried something new or different and it didn't go well, or you were harshly judged and criticized, or someone in your life at the time made you feel unworthy about your efforts, your confidence can really take a nosedive and make you feel like it's not worth trying again. It's not safe. It just doesn't feel very good to even try. Another reason for low confidence could be comparison to others. So can we talk about this one for a hot minute? Think about social media, all the posts that you see out there, people taking vacations, smiling with their families, hanging out with their cool friends, buying all the cool things, living in their beautiful homes, driving fancy cars. These are all highlight reels to our actual real life. People don't post much about the sad times, and they don't post much about the bad angled pics that get taken. They don't post much about their struggles. So we're looking through our social media feeds through a skewed lens. We're comparing ourselves to what we see around us, and it can make our confidence really take a nosedive. Comparison, as they say, is the thief of joy, and it's also the thief of confidence. Something else that can cause low confidence is negative self-talk. If you wrote down the things that you tell yourself on any given day, what would that sound like? Do you talk to yourself with love and compassion? Or are you super critical about yourself? And do you talk about things that you hate about yourself? We really underestimate the impact of our internal dialogue and the limiting beliefs that are built upon how we talk to ourselves. You might not even realize how you're talking to yourself because it's so programmed and it's so natural for us to do. All day long, we are talking to ourselves without even realizing it. Some examples of negative self-talk: it's imagining or expecting the worst in any given situation, blaming yourself for things that are outside of your control, blowing things out of proportion, focusing on the negatives. It could be body shaming. It could be just being overly critical of something you're working on, or something you said, or something you did, or the way you look. Another thing that can cause low confidence is fear of judgment from other people, fear of rejection. If you are afraid of criticism, even if it's constructive, that can prevent you from taking risks, especially if it's not something you've had very good experience with. So if you've had feedback and it felt maybe like a personal attack, or you didn't agree with the feedback, or there was something about it that really wasn't productive, then it's likely that you will fear getting feedback. You'll fear that it's going to be too critical. However, getting feedback is super important in terms of helping us grow and reach our potential. That said, your personal experience with receiving feedback in the past is going to greatly impact your ability to give and receive feedback now and in the future. Another thing to contemplate is when you were growing up, think about how people were talked about in your home. Whether it was your parents talking about your siblings, or talking about people who came to visit, talking about people on TV, or people outside the home. If it was normal for your parents to talk about others in a negative way, if there was frequent criticism and judgment in your home, then it's natural for you to have created this reality in your mind where your childhood experience caused you to think that's just how everyone acts. These are the things everyone says. So you might have had a skewed perception of the world you were going into when you moved out and into the real world based on what you experienced in the home as life. If you felt unjustly criticized or judged during your developmental years, you might believe that all people will unjustly criticize and judge you. You yourself likely unjustly criticize and judge yourself. If you can relate to that, you're probably saying a big ugh. So parental influence that maybe was well-intentioned but wasn't super helpful, or skewed our own perceptions, especially in today's world of social media, all of these things are going to influence our ability to feel confident. So how can you tell if you're showing up in the world with low confidence? Like, what does that look like? If you think about what it looks like when someone is confident versus what someone who's not confident look like, you can probably pull out some characteristics and some indicators. And we're going to talk about a few of those indicators now. So first, we have behavioral indicators. So this could look like people or yourself playing small, not doing anything that might rock the boat or poke the bear. You might avoid situations that challenge you. You might always choose safe versus what you would actually love to choose. You might be so conscious of making sure that you're not too much for people around you. There's also some emotional indicators. So these are going to be feelings of self-doubt, anxiety. You might feel inferior. Your pulse might increase. You might feel nerved up. You might be frequently tired if you're always trying to not show your lack of confidence. And then physically, your body language is going to show whether you're experiencing confidence or not. So this could be poor posture, shoulders slumped down. You might have a lack of eye contact. You might have nervous habits like fidgeting or picking at your nails or scratching your head. You might physically make yourself smaller with how you hold your body. You might wear makeup, hairstyle, and clothes that blend in and make it less likely for people to notice you. If you are seeing yourself in any of these signs of low confidence, try not to get too wrapped up in them and too concerned. Don't become hyper-focused so much that you're noticing every little thing that you're doing. Just think about it as taking inventory of your current state. What is happening right now? And how can you change that for yourself? And we're going to talk about some strategies that will help you go from self-doubt to self-belief. Acknowledge your achievements. Reflect on and celebrate your accomplishments. You are so much more worthy and talented than you give yourself credit for. Believe in yourself. Be proud of your achievements. Don't be afraid to promote yourself and your great work. You can also seek validation. Accept positive feedback and acknowledge its validity. This can be a tough one. I can recall many situations, mainly at work, where I would get feedback that I needed to get comfortable self-promoting myself. And I struggled with accepting that because I was programmed to believe that if you were the one to toot your own horn, you were braggish and people don't like other people who brag. Then I learned to love myself, and now I understand why it's important to be your own advocate. But the point there is, even if you don't agree with feedback that's given to you, stick that in your back pocket and ponder it. If it comes up more than once, there might be something there that you have a blind spot about. So don't automatically discount when someone gives you feedback about something. It could be a really good gift for your development. Another thing to think about if you are trying to build your self-belief and your confidence is talk about it. Share your feelings. Find some friends, trusted peers, mentors. It's really going to help you gain perspective of the fact that you're not alone in this. Everyone has a metaphorical backpack where they hide their stuff. until one day it's safe to take it out and deal with it. And it's not going to feel safe to take it out and deal with it unless we're talking about it and we're making it okay to talk about it. Because getting it out really lessens that emotional charge that you tend to get when you're talking about it. And what happens because of that, you lessen that emotional charge, and then that's going to open the door to you overcoming that self-doubt and healing what's going on under the surface with that. I have so much to say about this next one that I will call prime your mind and the rest will follow. A lot of this has to do with mindset. So I would say challenge and reframe any negative thoughts that you have with positive affirmations. Choose what works for you. So I actually have a sticky note on the bottom of my computer monitor that says, I am confident, I am wildly capable, I speak my mind, I trust my intuition, I am bold, and I have bold in all caps, and this has been on there probably for 2 years now. And it's something that I refer to regularly, and it helps boost my confidence when I need it. It's like a reminder to my subconscious, and it's truly reprogramming and restructuring the way I talk to myself. We, as a collective humanity, have so much programming to undo, and I have found using affirmations is definitely a cheap and easy way to get started on that much needed process. Another thing that I would say is shift your thoughts and feelings about failure. Give yourself permission to fail. You're going to experience so much more freedom. You will have less procrastinating and you'll have less perfectionism. Another thing that I like to do is find props that help you feel more confident. So I like to wear a bold color like red or maybe bright yellow or hot pink. Sometimes it's blue. It just varies depending on the situation when I need a boost of confidence. I've also done a lot of research on different stones that you can wear. So I really love my red carnelian beaded bracelet. It helps when I need confidence. And another stone that really helps amplify your confidence is tiger's eye. So I highly recommend finding some bracelets or just a piece of the stone, just something that you can have near you to help you when you need just a little bit of boost of confidence. I've also done this hack where I program my middle finger and thumb with the phrase, I speak confidently, or you can program it with any phrase that works for you. Stay with me a minute because this might sound odd, but it really does work for me. So let's say you're heading into a conversation that makes your nerves all bundled up, or a presentation that you have to give, or just something, whatever makes you nervous that you could use a little bit more confidence with. So give this a try. You press your middle finger and your thumb together. Doesn't matter which hand. Each time you press, you tell yourself out loud or in your mind, whatever your phrase is. I speak confidently is mine. So then during the conversation or whatever situation it is that you need that boost, you can either keep your middle finger and thumb pressed together for a constant stream of confidence, or you can intermittently press them together as needed. It's, for me, a tried and true way to get myself out of my head and into my body, or to say it differently, out of my emotions and into my logic. Speaking of getting out of your head and into your body, a fantastic way to increase your confidence is literally to move your body. This can be exercise, it can be dancing, it could just be wiggling, whatever you need to do to get that stuck energy out. Do it. Do it in snack-sized portions. It could be 2 minutes here, 10 minutes there, but aim for at least 30 minutes a day of getting your body moving so that that energy isn't just hanging around in there causing you grief. Another one that is super important is seek professional help. Consider therapy or coaching to address any kind of deep-rooted insecurities that you might have. Therapy is going to help you deal and heal with things in your backpack from the past. And then coaching is going to give you the confidence to move forward with a much more confident outlook on the future. I have done both of these, and I believe that every single person benefits from both therapy and coaching. The last strategy that I will talk about on this particular episode is developing your skills and knowledge, investing in personal and professional development. So if you're curious about pursuing a degree or a certification, I would highly encourage you to look into it. Personally, I love to read improvement books like self-help books. I like to listen to podcasts just like you are right now. And one tip in particular that I love is my meditation practice. You can find guided meditations specifically to help you with confidence and imposter syndrome. And you don't have to pay for them. There's a lot available on YouTube. There's a free app that you can get called Insight Timer. That's the one that I like to use. I personally would say that is exactly what has helped me overcome a lot of what I needed to overcome. Another option when it comes to developing skills and knowledge, and something I've implemented as well, is something called trauma spotting. So in my experience, this type of therapy really gets to the root of confidence issues, almost like an exorcism, dare I say. It gets out the stuck negative energy. There's energy stuck in your body that ends up coming out during times that you don't want it to come out. So it's kind of like that saying, don't bleed on people who didn't cut you. Trauma spotting really helps get rid of the energy that might cause you to do that in any given situation. So if this is piquing your energy at all, go ahead and Google it, or feel free to message me. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. I hope these strategies have given you something to think about. It's been sort of a collection of numerous years for me with all of the things that I've done to try to work on myself, and I'm still working on myself. There's still work that I need to do, and I am a lifelong learner, so I will continue to do that. When I think about the people I know who seem to be just so courageous and unbothered by a lack of confidence, I often wonder how they got that way. Were they just born that way? Did they go through something that pushed them to be courageous? It's both, I think. Many of the people I find inspiring happen to go through something that could have taken them down forever. Not saying that it didn't take them down at all, but they were able to pull up out of that and find meaning and purpose in it and share it with the world. So I look at influencers like Lewis Howes, Jenna Kutcher, Tony Robbins, Gabby Bernstein, Oprah, and they've all been through some shit. Yet they come out of the fire and now they're bringing back water for other people who are currently going through it. So it's the purpose and conviction that helps create confidence. I know my confidence has wavered back and forth over my entire life. I think about a much younger me who I refer to sometimes as kindergarten Melissa. She was so bold, so fearless, and a true go-getter. And you know how kids just have that fresh confidence where they're pretty much open, honest, energetic little firecrackers? That was definitely me in my early years. And then throughout grade school, middle school, high school, I had some experiences that handed kindergarten Melissa make older Melissa feel as though it wasn't safe to be bold, to be fearless, and a true go-getter. So what happened was I learned to essentially dumb down who I was, only presenting the really watered down version of myself because people thought that was more tolerable. So now I was easygoing and chill, a calm influence. I'll tell you what, easygoing Melissa would never have decided to start her own business and create a podcast. I did a lot of work to undo everything. And there's still stuff. I'm still working. But I started unpacking my backpack piece by piece, paying attention to each piece that was ready to come up and get healed. I began healing. I began educating myself. I began unlearning and then relearning and then reprogramming my subconscious to really embrace my inner boldness. Actually, that reminds me, I wanted to share some of the books that I've read that have really helped me in my journey. So I would say my top 5 books are The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, I Thought It Was Just Me by Brene Brown, Untethered Soul, Michael A. Singer, Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima, and Happy Days by Gabrielle Bernstein. So they have all influenced me and have been really helpful, just helping me understand what other people have gone through, success stories of how people have pulled themselves up and out of what they were going through so that they could move from self-doubt to self-belief. So it definitely took years of self-help, counseling, coaching, meditating, trauma spotting, basically taking care of all parts of me. So physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually. Finally, I feel like I'm becoming bold, and I'm in charge of creating my world now. And I would love to help you get there too. I'd also really love to hear about your experiences and your strategies for building confidence and conquering imposter syndrome. In what ways are you working on going from self-doubt to self-belief? How do you build your confidence? What advice do you have for others experiencing imposter syndrome? You could email me at melissa@embracebold.life or post your ideas on my social media. I'll put my handles in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. In summary, let's work on becoming aware of the ways you're acting from your self-doubt versus your self-belief. Let's be mindful and intentional of how you talk to yourself and to others. Seek out ways, even just a few minutes a day, where you can work on building your self-belief and confidence. Choose yourself. If you work on healing yourself, building your confidence, and overall becoming bolder and happier, you create a world that reflects your happiness. So your action item this week is to choose one of the strategies mentioned in this podcast and focus on increasing your confidence with just that one strategy. If you happen to have enough energy to tackle more than one, please be bold and go for it. Just make sure you give yourself credit for whatever it is you accomplished this week towards building confidence and conquering imposter syndrome. I'll share a quick teaser on topics for upcoming episodes. I'll be talking about tips and tricks to achieve work-life harmony, managing conflict, how to stop playing small, understanding yourself and others, and setting boundaries. So in the meantime, please be kind to your mind. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode of Embrace Your Inner Boldness. I hope you found inspiration and actionable tips to help you live more confidently. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss out on the latest insights and empowering stories. Please take a moment to also leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing you more content that uplifts and motivates. Empowering yourself and or your team starts with embracing your inner boldness. When we stop playing small, we open the door to limitless potential. Remember, the only limit to your greatness is the one you set for yourself. Stay bold, stay fearless, and let's make this journey unforgettable.